What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the brand new Titan event that's in game right now. I'm going to give my thoughts on this Titan event and give you guys some pointers on what we need to do to complete it if you guys so choose so. So right now we have this Demonslayer Titan event. It's for Tholin's 5-star soul. So obviously the Tholin is the fusion that's ongoing right now. So this video will be very relevant to you if you plan on getting the fusion and then you guys want to evaluate how strong his soul would be for Tholin. So for Tholin, we have a 1-star up for grabs, a 3-star, and a 5-star. The reason why I haven't collected this is because in the off chance that there is a soul chase around the corner in the next 3 weeks, when you collect these, you do get points for that soul chase. At 1,500 points here, we got the 5-star Tholin Perfect Soul. Now, if you reach this final milestone, you just sell these off, the 1 and 3-star, and then you get the 5-star here. Now, how valuable is the 5-star for Tholin? It's actually not that valuable. For him, he doesn't necessarily need accuracy because all of his debuffs come from his A1, which is the weaken, and that gets applied to bosses without accuracy needed. So here he is, Tholin, first time loaded up in the game. So he has this weaken on this A1, but it is irresistible against corrupted alliance, bosses, or minions. Now, the main thing about Tholin is you're probably going to use him against bosses in a situation where you don't need accuracy. So having the 5-star on him doesn't really benefit him too much. A little bit of resistance, could be useful. For example, like in faction wars or something like that. But generally, the 5-star is basically just going to be a damage boost depending on what kind of blessing you choose for him. Now, that could be useful and all that, but it really depends on what kind of resources you're sitting on to be able to get his 5-star soul. Unfortunately, there's no 4-star soul up for grabs, only the 3-star soul. He doesn't benefit too much from the 3-star soul as well in terms of overall stats. As a damage dealer, you want him to have at least the 4-star so that you can get the crit damage on him. So it kind of leaves everybody in kind of a weird spot where you don't really want the 3, you don't really want the 5, but you kind of have to go one or the other. Generally, these 5-star souls are only usually worth it if you're planning to use this champion. Like if you're going to use this champion everywhere and he's going to be your main damage dealer, then yes, the 5-star soul is going to boost his damage. Maybe somebody without Newt or Marius could actually use Tholin for Chimera damage, for example. Tholin could also pitch in some damage for Hydra if you don't have like somebody like Thor, which is the comparable, I guess. But Thor is still significantly better than Tholin in terms of overall damage. Tholin does bring a weaken, which is important and worth noting. So it does leave a bit of a weird spot for Tholin in terms of his overall blessing in this Titan event. I much rather would have liked to see maybe like a 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star type of setup instead, just because the 2-star gives him attack and then you don't really need the 1-star here. I would have much preferred to see that, but they wanted to squeeze in these relics in here. Now, these relics, I'm not too sure. They don't sound too impressive. I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about in terms of the relic rewards. So in the event group tab, we get the Gaze of Damnation as the epic relic. The wearer gets more damage and receives less damage based on the amount of activations of fear. Doesn't necessarily need to be placed by them, so that's a little bit of a benefit. But it is a damage dealing relic for somebody that benefits off of fear. The legendary relic is going to be the Gilded Pinion, where it receives 1% less damage for each turn of cooldown on all their skills. And yeah, the damage reduction is not significant. I mean, you're very unlikely to have more than 10 turns worth of cooldowns. Very, very unlikely, depending on how many skills you have. Not sure how mythicals can apply to this. Maybe I'm pretty sure it only applies to one form, not both forms. Let's say you have 10 turns worth of skill cooldowns, and let's say you're at level 4, so that's 1.75, so that's 17.5% damage reduction. Yeah, I mean, possible. You're looking at least maybe 10 or 15 damage, 10 or 15% damage reduction. Could be decent. Also comes with speed as well. Could be decent. And probably not too bad with champions that only use their A1 or prioritize their A1 over their other abilities. So it could be useful. So this legendary relic will be available in the Titan event at milestone 4. Which is pretty standard in terms of where these relics have ended up in the past. Let's compare how this top reward milestone compares to the previous Titan events. All right, guys, for the sake of simplicity, I will be looking at the top milestone rewards for some of the past Titan events that we've had. So for example, here we have Arman's. Arman's is top level Titan rewards here, we have the similar avatar. We have the avatar here at the same milestone 1050. From Armans, they had a 50 multi-battle at 1100. For Tholin, we have a rank 3 Basalt. Obviously, the Basalt is going to be a little bit more useful. Primal Shards at the same spot at 1150. And then you have the Chaos Powder, same spot, 1200. You have a 5-star chicken for the current Titan event versus 5 basically big essences. So obviously the essences is going to be a little bit more valuable. The chicken for Armans shows up later. And then the barrel shows up later. And the big thing that is excluded from this current Titan event is the mythical book. Now it seems like the mythical book has always been in every single Titan event. So if you look at the Titan event, we got Armans, Mithrala's Soul, Thor's Soul. There's always been a mythical book just before the final milestone. Instead, this time we are getting the Eternal Soul Essence. We're getting 10 of them. That is pretty good. I think that's pretty good value considering where they value 10 Eternal Soul Essence. Usually they value this higher than mythical books. So I would say this is a bit of an upgrade. And of course, the Basalt, 3-star Basalt, is better than 50 multi-battles usually. And for example, we're looking at the Thor final milestone rewards. We do see no legendary book available. But in the current Titan event, we do see the legendary book available here at 1350. So in terms of final rewards, I would say it's slightly better than past Titan events. So it does pose additional incentive to go for it, the 5-star here. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of events that we have to juggle through. Let's quickly take a look at what is on offer right now. So we do have the training event, and I found this a little bit interesting, is that this training event only has 80 points in it. It's a very meager amount of points, Titan points, for a lot of effort, basically. 80 points here. And the current champion chase has 200 points, for example. So all of this kind of makes more sense when you look at the calendar and what's happening. So right now there's a little bit extra events listed on the Plarium Play calendar because it looks like they've given us the first 10 days of events as opposed to the first 7 days. So there's a couple more events in here. But you can kind of see where there are some tricky spots here already listed for you guys. So I'm going to point those out just in case you guys don't see it. But there is a Karosa's Conquest tournament that has the Titan points in them in the upcoming week. Probably it's during, it looks like it's during CVC. Yes, it's during CVC Wednesday. During CVC, it's during a dungeon diving event as well. But if you don't have a team ready for this dungeon, it's not going to be easy, right? It's not going to be easy points. We've yet to see how much points they allocate to dungeons. Usually the normal dungeons don't get too much. Usually it's between 30, 50, 70, 80, somewhere around there. But it also depends if they have any kind of special conditions, which leads me to my next point here. There is going to be a special condition dungeon, and it's going to be the Spider Tournament. So Spider Tournament with special rules. It could be faction specific or whatever, rarity specific, for example. But generally, these ones are worth a little bit more in terms of Titan points. This could really trip you up if you aren't expecting it and you can't fulfill the special rules. Now, that's something that's really important to note if you're planning to go all the way for the 5-star, because you can only skip 250 points. There's 1,750 points available. You need to hit 1,500, so you can only miss 250. The other thing to note here is that the Ice Golem event is a turn attack Ice Golem. Now, this is a bit of a pain in the butt, because Ice Golem is just generally a pain in the butt dungeon to deal with. And because these dungeons have special conditions on them, they're not just normal, tournaments. These points will be elevated. So something like this, you don't really want to get stuck on and lose out on the points. So make sure you guys are planning ahead, looking ahead to these. So in terms of how many points are we looking at here from all of these events currently listed, they said we are expecting 1,050 points in the first 10 days. So all the events listed here will equate to 1,050 points. I don't even really want to guess how to break this down, because after seeing the training tournament being worth only 80 points, some of these events could only be worth like 20 points, 30 points. It seems like there's more events now. So there could be like, splattering of smaller amounts of Titan points throughout them. But what I think is kind of clear is that in the last week, they said there's only going to be 700 points available. Now, my thinking is it's going to be another champion chase, or it's going to be a deck of fate, probably, and maybe a summon event as well. So it could be a deck of fate and a champion chase in the last week, both worth 200 each, or maybe 150, 200, or something like that. So we have to prepare for that. And I think if it's going to be a deck of fate, it's probably going to be for a guaranteed champion. And it's most likely going to be Balor the Lost, which is one of the featured champions available in the game right now. So Balor the Lost from the Undead Hordes. Where is he at? My bad. He's actually from the Sylvan Watchers. Balor the Lost here. He looks very interesting, very capable of doing some Chimera trials, for example. He brings poisons, leech, and then decreased resistance. Also places the increased accuracy. A lot of this is just screaming Chimera trials, so he could be very useful there. But he certainly most likely will be the guaranteed champion, since we just had a focused event on Grykos. Also, the 10x event on Grykos as well, and his soul is up for grabs. So a lot of emphasis on Grykos, the Turn Drake right now. So I think Balor the Lost will come at the back half of this Titan event in the form of probably a deck of fate. Now that means probably going to be, Titan points available in the deck of fate as well. And generally, deck of fate events are really, really tough to manage properly, especially if you can't fully clear them, because you have no idea how many points you're going to get from that deck of fate. Just something to be aware of, that the back half of this Titan event, it really can be tricky. So if you guys can definitely pull through with some of the earlier events, make sure you guys go for those. This is only if you're planning to go for the 1500 5-star soul for Tholin. I'm just trying to temper some of your expectations for the first week, because the back half week is going to be probably a couple big ticket events. And then, yeah, you don't want to get stuck needing points in the back week of this Titan event. That's what I'm saying. Although personally speaking, I don't really think this Titan event is super worthwhile for most people, even though this Milestone 5 reward structure is probably slightly better than usual. Minus the mythical book. This is the first Titan event without the mythical book, which is a bit of a bummer, especially if you need mythicals. But Eternal Soul Essence here for, it's still something useful for those endgame players. Also, the inclusion of a legendary book here could be useful as well. But I just don't see a lot of people going for this. Like I said, he doesn't gain too much from the 5-star other than, obviously crit damage and stuff, but he doesn't really need accuracy and he doesn't need resistance. 5-star will give him a little bit more damage based on the blessing that you take. You're probably going to want to take Nature's Wrath, probably, just because he'll stack up the weekend and then he'll get stronger over time for those boss fights. But is it kind of worth it for the additional resources? I don't know. I think the 1000 relic here is probably reasonable. Beyond 1000, you probably need to, you won't be able to skip a lot of summon events. A lot of the big ticket events you won't be able to skip anymore. So, but up to 1000, I think most people can do if you just play the game regularly, even if you want to conserve shards. So this is probably where you want to aim for. You're still picking up, a Void Shard, Immortal Soulstone for your trouble, which is still not too bad. And you still get the 3-star for him, which can be helpful for some extra stats. But yeah, the 5-star I think is a little bit of a reach for most people. Obviously, Plarium baking in some of the Titan points into the champion chase is not too player friendly, of course. They've done this in the past with like the Thor fusion. I believe the Noel fusion, they've also done this as well. At this point, you kind of have to expect it. In my fusion schedule plan, I did mention that there was a chance that the Titan event would overlap with the last champion chase, which made going for the epic in the summon rush during the first week of the fusion less valuable. There's other reasons to get the epic. Of course, it helps you with event planning, just in case you miss a rare. But if you're not going to skip the champion chase, you're still pulling shards, which means you're not getting the full value for it. So you're basically, maxing out the summon rush to get the epic, and then you're having to pull more shards for the champion chase. It's not ideal for shard savings. If you plan on doing the Titan for the full thing. But, it doesn't mean that you can't fully skip the champion chase, because the champion chase is still 200 points that you can still skip, because you can skip 250 if you wanted the 5-star. But like I said, you don't want to leave points on the table hoping to pick them up in the last week of the Titan event, because It's probably going to be a deck of fate, and it's probably going to be, you have to full clear the deck of fate to guarantee yourself the points. And then it's probably going to be another summon event at the end, or maybe it's going to be 2 summon events. Who knows? But I think in the future, when these kind of events happen, right after fusions, like we basically have to expect some kind of overlap with some kind of with the back end events. So we kind of have to be prepared for that in the future, I think. Either way, guys, let me know what you guys think about the Titan event, what your plans are. Are you guys finished Tholin? Are you guys going for his souls 1, 3, and 5? What do you guys think here? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, guys, have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Hopefully you guys have a good one. And yeah, I'll see you later.